Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airwaves with fast scan television. We utilize the 08 repeater for our voice communications during our video transmission. We have a repeater for video located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 434 megahertz on a 70 centimeter band, and it's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. So I'll pause now in case anybody needs to make contact or has emergency traffic. And again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, 87ZYM. So we'll take some check-in.
N7QO.
Take the check-in.
WU7N, I know. Connected, WU7N.
Let's just net this evening. So anyway, I'm Dave, 87ZYM, and we have N7QO. Jim checked in. Is anybody else?
You missed Jim, WU7N, and this is Bob, K9PQ.
Bob, K9PQ, and James, WU7N. Again, anybody else like to check in this evening? Okay, let's get up to the top. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
Thank you, Dave, N7QO. Well, let's see. I can actually see somewhat of a signal here. Last time I looked, the repeater wasn't in its constant on mode, the television repeater. But I'm seeing something nevertheless, so that's a good sign. We had a mostly rainy day around the house here. Right now I'm showing 55 degrees outside, and a little bit chilly in the shack. It's 63 in the shack right now. The heat is on, but it takes a bit to warm it up. Anyway, nice out there right now. Everything seems to be nice and fresh. Quite a bit of precip came down throughout the course of the day, and so everything smells really good. Calm winds out there, and Memorial Day weekend, so not sure if we're going to have a full complement of members here. But back to you, Dave, and N7QO.
N7QO, this is Dave, 87ZYM in Lake City. Well, let's see, we've got... Well, let's see, it's dry out. It's not raining at this point. It's rained most of the day. I'm showing 65 on one thermometer inside, 63 on the other, and 55 degrees outside. So let's go on to James, WU7N.
Okay, well, thank you. It looks like I'm putting out a fine set of color bars right now. Let me try a power reset. It didn't seem to help. Oh, there it goes. Okay, there's an ID. Well, anyway, it was a great day today. Bob and I went out up to the site. And I'm reminded of a news article I read last week where someone came home and a house had been broken into, and they didn't know what the deal was because nothing was missing, and everything was all neat and tidied up. And then the man noticed he could smell cleaning chemicals, and I didn't find it humorous that this even made national news. Must have been a slow news week. Because it's pretty obvious to me what happened. Can you just imagine the new people at the cleaning service? They have a key and they have an address that they've obviously got wrong. They go to the front door, the key doesn't work. Well, let's go around the back, and the man admitted he left his back door unlocked and had not set his alarm system. So they go in, they tidy up the whole house, and then they leave. And a week from now, 2 people are going to get criticized by their boss that the Johnson place had called and said that you didn't even look like you cleaned it at all last week. I think the whole thing is funny. Well, we sort of did the same thing. We went up to the site and moved some things around and tidied up a bit. And so hope that whoever looks at it will consider it a positive thing. We didn't touch anything inside where the equipment is active and located. It was the other building. We moved some stuff away from the electrical switch panels. And also brought 2 filing cabinets up, did some other stuff. So that's what we did today. This is James, WW7N, and let me turn it back to you, Dave.
WW7N, 87CYM, this is Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. Is there anybody else who would like to check in? Hearing none, let's go to Bob, K9PQ.
Okay, well, with no Ron to switch me, I think I'm not going to, I got myself all set up to put a signal out, but I don't think that's going to happen tonight. Yeah, it was a good trip up to the site. I don't know if James mentioned it or not, but he supplied 2 filing cabinets. And so we now have 3 filing cabinets up there. We don't have one of the cabinets with the big wide doors that open wide. And I haven't replied to your email yet, but I got it, James. He found one, that you can buy new, and they're expensive. And I've also talked to Ron, or maybe to you, Dave. You don't find them at the second-hand places like you do the filing cabinets, because I think they're a lot more useful, and people find uses for them. So where the filing cabinets, unless you want to file papers, they're kind of limited. But yeah, and I brought the stuff that you brought to my place, Dave, plus the stuff I already had. We brought and put up into the storage room, and we kind of checked everything out and made sure all the codes worked, and we had all the keys we needed to get all the access, and so we are all set, and I'm very happy about that. Okay, I'll send it back to you, Dave, K9PQ.
K9PQ, this is KD7ZYM in Lake City. Well, today I did not venture outside. It was rained most of the morning and most of the afternoon. It cleared up probably, around 6:30 this evening here in Lake City. Went outside, collected the mail out of the mailbox, but that was about my only outside journey today. Inside, working down in my basement, had a couple of tripods that needed repair. These are big commercial tripods used for video cameras that weigh about 30 pounds. So a couple of tightening up some screws and just getting them oriented around what I wanted to use them for. One I'm going to put on a telescope, and so I had a lightweight telescope tripod and took the head off of that and now put it on the heavy-duty tripod that mates with the tripod with the telescope, so it'll match and be very good for both fluid heads, which means they have an inner working that is almost like SPT, very thick velocity oil that's inside them, so they move very slowly. If you want to use that, they're very good for tracking things with a long lens. Anyway, that's pretty much what I did today. So with that, I'll send it back to Jim, N720.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave, and good evening to you, and Jim and Bob. Thank you, gentlemen, for going up and working at the mountain. Mystery cleaning crew, that's interesting. Wow, something like that never ever happened to me. Even when I thought that there was someone who might do cleaning around here, that never really happened to me. Oh well. Yeah, I might do better if the television repeater were in its constant on mode, but what you see is what you get. At least it seems to be working a little better on the stream, so that's a good thing. I hope everyone who's not here is out there having a good time for the holiday. It is Memorial Day weekend, and thanks to everyone for your service, if you were in the military, and it's a weekend to remember them. Otherwise, normal people like us wind up doing work around the house, or the repeater, whichever the case may be. Nevertheless, work. How can you have a holiday but do work? I don't quite get it, but that's America. I guess you do work that you want to do rather than well, I can't say that. Work that you're paid to do, you don't do on holidays. You do work that you're not paid to do, which you may or may not want to do. Am I rambling? Does that make sense? Anyway, K7ZYM and 7QO.
N7QO. Again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave. KD7ZYM. Anybody else like to check in? Hearing none, let's go to James, WW7N.
Thank you, Dave. Well, I do have the repeater turned on hard right now, and it makes a loud buzzing noise in one of my radios, so I'm having to manage multiple boxes. So Bob, I don't know if you want to got it set up so that you can transmit if you want. Just let me know. Well, Dave, it's interesting. You said you had two tripods, and as I understand it, the one heavy-duty tripod has something for better tracking, which I assume that you are using for astronomical purposes. I'd like to hear more about that. Also, what kind of telescope are you using? Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's something else. You dropped out. Echolink is doing this. It magically knows the most important thing you want to hear, and it drops out those 5 words. And I do hear on my handheld, but there's a little lag difference in time between the handheld and Echolink right now. On my video right now, I have it hard-coded on, and I'm getting this rolling, vertical, sort of backly white bar that's coming from the right-hand side of my screen to the left-hand side of the screen. And I don't notice it when I go to, like, for example, no, it's still there with my ID too now. And if I put my face on, yeah, it's still definitely there. So I don't know if that's some interference my equipment's generating. I'm getting on the 1.2 downlink. So I'm interested to know what anybody else knows about that. Yeah, and Memorial Day, I'm glad someone told me it was Memorial Day because I had forgotten. And someone was trying to purchase a vehicle, and I was reminded that Monday all the banks are closed. So it's good to know that everything is closed. I guess I would have figured that out eventually. But it's nice to know in advance. So I'm glad someone reminded me. It is written in tiny fine print on one of my calendars that I use. So anyway, let me go ahead and turn it back to net. This is WW7N. And take it away, Nick.
WW7 WW7M. Let's go on to Bob, K9PQ.
Okay, James, yes, please do switch me in. I'm going to switch over to showing my picture, and yeah, it looks like you've got me. Great. Well, thanks for that, James. I wasn't sure if you were able to do it or not from your location. Yeah, I had planned to do one other thing as well today and didn't quite manage that, and that was to get my trailer out. And I have to admit, on the drive home, I was getting a bit discouraged as the rain got harder and harder. Oh, by the way, we got kind of lucky, I would say. It started sprinkling just a little bit as we were finishing up, at least as I recall. I don't think there was much rain, but boy, it didn't take long after well, we stopped and had lunch, and then by the time we left lunch, it was coming down steady, and I would not have wanted to be working outside then. But for the trailer, since I've switched, I replaced the crankshaft tongue jack with an electric one that is set up to run off the trailer battery. Well, I'm pretty sure that after about a year and a half, close to 2 years of sitting in storage and having forgotten to remove the battery, or figured I was going to get it out one more time and do it then, I'm pretty sure that battery's dead. So I just combination just made me decide, yeah, I'll just come home and stay nice and warm inside. I actually started the fire myself, and me and my kitty were enjoying that quite a bit. So, okay, back to net, K9PQ.
K9PQ, this is Dave, KD7YM. Well, it's nice to see people have things to do inside on a day like this when it's a little bit yucky outside. So, yeah, the tripods I have were commercial TV cameras weighing anywhere from 25 pounds to 35 pounds. The tripods weighed at least that, and they're very good for making nice, smooth pans and tilts if you're following something. Anyway, got those all put together, and they're replacing a couple of other tripods I had, which I think I'll take off to Goodwill and get rid of those, unless anybody else needs a heavy-duty tripod. For the small cameras that we seem to use in this industry of ham radio, ham TV, it's really overkill. Anyway, that's what I've done today, and it's still 55 degrees outside. I see some sunshine breaking through some tree leaves, so it's pretty light out this time of night. Anyway, my understanding is that sunset is almost close to 9 o'clock now, so that should start counting the other direction here in about 30 days. Anyway, enjoy the light while it's here. So let's move back up to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Well, I do not have need for any tripods. Thank you for the offer. You're right about that. The cameras are definitely smaller than they used to be. I still have two larger cameras. One is the size of a proverbial bread box, and one is maybe about half the size of a proverbial bread box. I for sure got one of them from Tom. I'm not real sure where the other came from, but I stopped using them probably 10 years ago or so, I would guess, in favor of the smaller things, which don't hardly use any power. I would have continued using them if they gave a substantially better picture, but the reality is they don't. They do seem to be a little better in low light conditions, but that's not really an issue for us anyway. And then again, I have a couple cameras which have built-in infrared illuminators, so I guess that sort of eliminates the problem for the low light requirement. Let's see. Jim, let me reset. Jim, your picture is fine. I do not see any rolling at my end, and my picture is rather weak coming back from the 1.2 right now. It might be, I cannot tell that the repeater's in its constant on mode, but the snow might be covering it up a little bit. At any rate, your picture's fine. There's no rolling, and if I just had to take a wild guess at it, maybe there's some interference between the 434 and the 1.2. I wonder if are you getting the rolling with everyone or just with yourself? If it's just with yourself, there may be some interference between the 434 and the 1.2. That would be my guess anyway. Back to you, Dave, M7QO.
M7QO, let's go to WU7M. James.
Well, thank you. And I don't know, since I'm not seeing it on anyone's 1.2 downlink except my own, I'm going to assume that something I set up tonight is causing my own interference. It must be maybe my own video transmit signal is interfering with the video receive downlink signal. I'm not really sure. And Dave, I don't know what kind of tripod you have or what shape they're in, but I might be interested. There's two things I kind of could use a tripod for, so I don't know what you got or how soon you're trying to get rid of things. But maybe I could take a look at them at some point if they're going to Goodwill anyway. But big thanks to Bob. Those two filing cabinets were just out in a tent area, so I'm glad we have them someplace to where they can be of service. And we have two that lock, although they're sort of honest people, honest type locks. It does let people know that whatever you put in them, you do value. So maybe that's a good thing. Anyway, yes, Bob, we were very fortunate with the weather, I think. It was like ambitious fog when we started, and we just were a little bit raining, but by the time I was driving home, it was pouring rain here in northeast Bellevue. And I looked on the radar, and I saw that it was a lot coming in. So the plants like it. I could live with a summer where we have 5 days of wonderful weather followed by a day of rain. That would be really nice. And it's nice you should mention the sun, Dave, because I somehow think of the peak of that coming later. But you're right. I guess it is June, that end of June, that the days start to become shorter again. Other astronomical information, I guess there is an asteroid that has its own little moon rotating around it that is passing by, or maybe it has, I guess it passed by about 5 hours ago, about, I don't know if it's 6 or 10 times farther away from Earth than the moon. But I thought that was kind of interesting. This thing looks like a little spaceship, classic little flying saucer with this little piece of rock rotating around it. And what's interesting to me is they are radar imaging it, and my mind cannot wrap my head around the concept of radar imaging something that small, that far away. The only way I could possibly think they must be doing that is you transmit the signal from one side of Earth and then receive it from the other side of the Earth to create a huge synthetic aperture, because I don't even understand how you would do that. Maybe Lee could comment sometime. I'll have to remember to try and ask him when he's on sometime. That's it for me. This is James, WW7ATS Whiskey Uniform 7 November, turning it back to you, Dave.
Go to K9PQ, Bob.
Dave, all I heard was K9PQ Bob. I think someone was doubling with you. You might want to check that. And I also have been meaning to ask since the beginning of the net. I'm getting a weak signal on my receive from the voice repeater, and I'm wondering if anyone else is, or if this is something I need to check out on my end. So let me send it back to you, Dave.
I'm hearing clear communications coming in on the 08 machine, and it sounds good. All the pictures are looking good going up on 434 megahertz. They're steady and clean. There is a little breakup coming back on 1.2 gig, but basically it's looking fairly decent. I had some rolling on K9PQ's picture when he came in, which is bypassing the RF going into the 70 centimeter band, but outside of that everything seems to be stable and good color happening this evening. So I'll send it back to K9PQ.
Okay, well, yeah, it was just the 08 machine I was talking about. And did you want to check on the double?
I sure could do that. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Does anybody else like to check in? What it was is good, and Bob, I'm seeing your picture coming in on 1.2, and it looks as clean as can be. It's got a little bit of roll to it, but good color.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting about the roll. We don't get that online. I'm looking at YouTube, although I'm getting a very, very rough pixelated picture coming in over YouTube, so, you know, it's the way it is sometimes. Okay, so I guess I am going to have to check. I might, with this rain, maybe I don't have something sealed as well as I should, and maybe there's a little bit of dampness causing problems. So, yeah, I was going to mention, James, also on YouTube, I saw that vertical white rolling thing that you mentioned. I saw no indication of that, and I can't remember. You maybe also mentioned that you're watching on YouTube, but it's not there. The asteroid with its own moon, that's cool. I can give you, more than just a guess. Let's call it an educated guess on how they can do the radar imaging. So with the radar, it's the wavelength is what you're interested in, so it's not going to be, it's certainly a longer wavelength than optical, but the size of the asteroid is still large, even though it's very far away, and so it's still going to be very large compared to the wavelength of the radar, so I think that is why you could do radar imaging. The other thing is about the 5 days of nice weather and 1 day of rain. That sounds pretty good to me, too. It takes me all the way back to a college course I took. Let me break. So, I'm going to break one more time. I forgot I had to let it drop completely to reset. So, it was, I had to fill out some science credits, and I took a botany course, which was just awful because there was lots of memorization, which is not what I do well. But the one thing that I did learn and retain from there is that what I thought was normal everywhere is actually pretty unusual, and our climate here is what is known as summer dry, winter wet. And I just thought, well, that's just the way it is. That's winter means wet, summer means dry. I mean, how is that not normal? But apparently for most of the U.S., if not most of the globe, I'm not sure. It's fairly even. Like Chicago area, it'll be hot in the summer, but you'll still get thunderstorms, and you don't get the constant wetness like you will get here, where it's overcast and everything just stays damp for a long time. But the precipitation between the winter and the summer are relatively even, and it varies over the globe. There's all kinds of different variations, but I think it was my bias growing up here. I just assumed that it's drier in the summer everywhere. That's what summer means. It's not only warmer, but it's also sunnier, but drier too. Tim, I just wanted to comment, N7QO, your signal is better than what I've been seeing recently. So I'm looking online, and I see my signal finally cleared up on YouTube, so that's nice too. Okay, sending it back to you, Dave, K9PQ.
And this is Dave, KD7GYN. Pause in case anybody else wants to check in. Hearing none. Let's see. I will go back to James, WW7M. I am getting that line going left to right, moving back and forth on the 1.2 output, so I don't know what that is this evening. This is the first time I've seen it. It wasn't apparent on James's transmission. But anyway, that was up and moving along now. And the picture did clear up on the internet side of the transmission. Well, I really don't have anything else to add in this group. But as far as the tripod goes, the one good one for James, if you have a 8x10 studio camera with still pictures, this tripod would be a dandy for you. Nice heavy-duty tripod. So I'll send it back to Jim, N7QO.
Thank you, Dave, N7QO. Well, let's see, the 1.2. It has been up and down for me tonight. For a minute or so there, Jim, I saw the television repeater was definitely in its constant on mode. But now I can no longer tell that. Now I cannot see myself on the 1.2. Jim, I've never seen any rolling on you. But Bob, while you were on the air here, your picture faded out to nothing, and then it came back. I experienced the same thing on the streaming. Your picture, Bob, cleared up very well on the stream. But the 1.2 has been up and down for me all night for some reason, and right now it's more down than not. Just a comment. So if someone else out there is having problems too, everyone else is. Bob, your audio, we hear you just fine. So if you're having some problems, we hear you just fine. Let's see. Astronomy. Always wanted to get in that, get involved with that, but never quite had the time to do so. And I don't think I will, unfortunately. life has just become a little too complicated. But I better reset. But I certainly have interest in there. I kind of am inclined, Jim. I don't know for sure how they would do radar mapping from this great a distance. There are amateurs out there who do things like moon bounce and whatever, but I don't know for sure how they would go about doing a radar imaging from a distance that great, but that's really beyond my knowledge base. Pretty cool if they could do that. It'll be an interesting thought. I'd like to see that on television sometime. That's it for now. KD7ZYM and 7QO.
In 7QO, your picture is decent on 1.2 coming in than it is on the internet tonight. Just some great pictures of you. As you were saying, you couldn't see anything yourself, but it's there. So let's go to James, WW7ATS.
Gotta get rid of that echo, and I still have my bar, based on everyone's comments, I'm going to assume that that bar that I am seeing is something unique to something that's happening here at my end. And that's one of the disadvantages of having sort of the, I call it a... I'll try and play around with it a little bit, maybe after the net, and track it down and see what's doing it, because Bob, your picture is certainly the best tonight, coming in on streaming day. Yours is the next best. Jim, your picture is actually quite good tonight with the repeater put hard on. I can clearly make you out and clearly read your call when you put your ID up and such, so that's pretty good. And Bob, yeah, thank you for your comments. Detecting it and just knowing something's out there and actually getting a radar mapping image, which I'm going to actually do some web research on this. I don't know. I'm so far behind on this stuff. I'm assuming they're using some sort of digital signal processing. I have no idea if they're using X, K, KA band, what they're using. Some new term I just learned, totally new to me. Apparently there's a company that makes satellite spacecraft, and the big deal right now is trying to move to something called the Q and V bands, that's Quebec and Victor bands, for microwave communication. And the purpose of that is because the KA band is getting crowded, which kind of blows my mind. I mean, how many boxes do they have around there floating around up there and zipping around the Earth? I don't know. But if they're getting into bandwidth problems, that too is kind of mind-numbing to me. Just sheer huge amounts of data that must be coming and going out of those satellites. The problem with, I do know the Q and the V band, I think that's millimeter wave, is things like fog and rain and clouds really do become extremely significant. Even the atmosphere is significant. So I don't know. I'm going to actually do some digging around and figure out how you image an asteroid that's that far out, and whether they're just detecting it, doing its speed, clocking its speed as it goes by, or they're really trying to get an image out of it. I remember the first radar mapping images I ever saw. They don't look like images. The tanks don't look like tanks you would take a picture of with a camera. They look very different, but that was the 80s, and there was a whole digital signal processing revolution that went on in radar in the 90s, and gosh, that's 20 years ago now, so I can only imagine what they can do today. So anyway, that's it for me. This is WU7N, still looking at my obnoxious little white bar jumping across my screen. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Dave.
WU7N, this is KD7. What's going on? K9PQ, Bob.
Okay, back around already. Well, let's see. Yeah, on the tripods, I heard you talking about that you were working on the tripods. I didn't realize you were offering them up. It's a very tempting offer, and maybe if I hadn't already invested in a nice tripod for my still camera, I would consider it. One of the things I read on one of these online photography blogs was that to take really, really good, sharp pictures of, sort of nature, still life, what am I trying to think of, landscape, you want a really heavy, solid tripod, because keeping that camera still is the difference between a pretty good picture and a super sharp, accurate picture. So I went ahead and invested in a nice tripod, and I think well, for one thing, with those I wouldn't be carrying them around with me. The one I've got is still portable enough that I can take it around with me as long as I'm not, backpacking 10 miles somewhere. But it's still heavy enough and solid enough for my use. Let's see. I thought I had something else too. Yeah, the radar. I get what you're saying, James, and I don't know. I haven't really looked into radar imaging, and now I'm curious too. I think I'll do some Googling too. Seemed to me I had one more thing, but I can't think of it, and I think I'm kind of talked out maybe. So if you want to go another round, I'll be here, but I'm fine with this being a 73 round for me. So we will send it back to you, Dave, KD7ZYM, and the Watts Net. This is K9PQ.
Break, W5DKZ.
DKZ, go ahead.
Sorry, I do not have a television transmitter, but I do have the radar answer. Go to the website echo.jpl.nasa.gov, and you will be able to read all about it. Long story short, they are not using an aperture on Earth to actually directly measure the asteroid. What they're doing is using the time delay as the signal bounces back from different parts of the asteroid. The differential Doppler, because the asteroid itself is rotating. Hope that helps. W5DKZ, Jeffrey out.
Thanks for that information, and welcome to the net. And Bob, your bars are still up.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, I had not switched. Okay, thanks for that. Well, that's interesting. I just went out to that website, and I'm going to be perusing it here. I think I sent it back to you anyway, Dave. So, James, maybe you could switch it back, and so over to you, Dave. This is K9PQ.
And this is Dave, 87CYM. Well, the net is moving along this evening. You say we get talked out after a while, a few rounds. I bottomed out, I think, 10 minutes ago. Getting stuff done around the house. It's always kind of nice when you have these rainy days. The only thing I don't like about the rainy days is it encourages the grass to grow, which means I'm going to have to mow the lawn probably next week. As a rule, I've not been watering the yard in the summer months, and it goes dormant, and find out you don't have to take care of it when it's dormant. So anyway, that's what's happening here. So I'll send it back up to Jim, N720.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. And thank you, Jeffrey, I think you said. Appreciate the info. Let's see, Jim, yeah, I see my picture pretty well as well on the stream anyway. I have observed that frequently I do a whole lot better when there's some precipitation out there, or at least when all of the foliage is wet. So, of course, not all of the time. There are other variables, wind, etc. But I'm definitely having a problem at my QTH with the 1.2. Not sure what's going on there. And that's unusual for it to be like this. But yeah, I can't say that I have anything else for the net either tonight. Good to hear from everyone. Thank you all for the pictures, and I'll pass it back to you now, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to WU7N, James.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jeff. I did find this website that he referred to, and I don't know how they're doing it, but there's the pictures right there. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to do, it looks like they have a nice introduction to asteroid radar over here on the right. The other interesting radar site that if you're interested in radar, that is really well written, and anybody with ham radio background can certainly approach it, and that is if you go to radar.weather.gov, and then to the lower right-hand corner there, where they've got all the sites all over the United States, you pick one, and lower right there's something, I think they call it Doppler University, and that is really interesting, just even to see what you can select from the interface, the web-based interface, to see different things about how much moisture has come down in the storm, and you also understand that the big radar consumer for weather is the Midwest, and I guess we have some of the worst thunderstorms, if not the worst thunderstorms in the world, down through Tornado Alley, and so you understand that the radar that the Weather Service is using is really kind of oriented towards that. That's where the real damage comes from. And if you look on the right side of the screen, it looks like you can read it on my 1.2 downlink, despite my annoying interference tonight, but it says the scheduled Arecibo observations. Anybody who's an X-Files fan will remember how Arecibo figured into that fictional TV series. That was one of my favorite introductions. But somehow they're getting 3D models of asteroids from radar observations. To me, this is amazing. I have to learn how they're doing this. And it looks like they've even got echo strength predictions. I'll have to read up on this. My impression is that they're using things like the Goldstone dish. This is way beyond anything I'm going to do with a wire thrown out my back window. Wow, look at the size of that dish. I believe those are automobiles, little tiny things underneath the dish. Just the engineering to hold a structure like that is amazing to me. Anyway, I see it's 8:48. I don't know if you guys want to go on for another round or not, but this is WU7N. Let me go ahead and turn this back to Dave.
WU7N, James, you're there, and Bob 73'd us already, so I'll just open it up. Is there anything from anyone before we button up the net this evening?
I actually have one more. This can NPQ.
Okay. I think you go ahead.
Yeah, after I did my 73 was when I think it was Jeffrey. All I remember is DKZ. I can't even remember the prefix or the number. Anyway, thanks for that. That's really interesting stuff. And thank you, James, as well for doing the switching tonight. I appreciate it. That's all from here. 73 for real this time. Back to you, Dave. NIPQ.
Okay, with that, Bob, this is Dave, 87CYM. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'd like to thank the owners and operators of the OA industry. It's been a allows us to use it for voice transmissions or audio transmissions during our video transmissions. And that's held on Wednesdays, Saturdays, 8, 9 o'clock, so now I'll be terminating that. Again, thanks to the Tech Computer Group for letting me use your machine. I'm Dave, 87WYM, on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. Good evening all.
Oh, okay, Dave, I think I got everything turned off. WW7ATS. WW7N audio test.